Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Welcome to day 12 of our cast on adventure, the final day. Oh my goodness, I can't even quite believe it. It's another beautiful sunny day here in South Wales and I am intending on heading out. I've got some errands to do today, so I don't think there will be any fun casting on at the beach today, but I think I might take a little bit of an extra loop around after I've done my errands, and we'll go perhaps up to one of the cliff top viewpoints that look down over the beach and the pier, and yeah, I'll share a little bit of outside stuff with you. I need to roll the dice and get on so that I can get out and get those errands done and then can get on with work for the day. I am, before we roll the dice, I am wearing my Midsummer Meadow sweater today, which is an all over colourwork sweater. It's a pattern by, oh, I can't remember, Lisa Richardson, I think, and it did feature in a issue of the Knitter magazine. I'm not sure if it's available as a separate pattern or not. I knit mine in a combination of the Rowan Valley tweed and Baramu pip colourwork, which sadly is a discontinued yarn now. And I've also got my Astra cowl on because it's really chilly up here. Although it's another blue sky day, it's really cold. So yeah, I've got my Astra vest. I am knitting an Astra vest. This is the Astra cowl. And I knit mine out of hand spun yarns. This is a pattern by Amber O'Brien. What I'm wearing chat out of the way, let's get on and roll the dice and see what the final dice pick has in store. There are so many projects that I know are on my prompt cards that have not come up that I would dearly have loved to cast on, but that was always going to be the way this year, doing this kind of randomness and bringing in extra numbers, and yeah, I was never going to get to cast everything on, so yeah, we'll see what day 12 has in store for us. Okay, final roll is done, which makes me a little bit sad, but I will be back to roll the dice to help me choose the projects that I work on in February, so next month. So there will be some more dice rolling fun coming up later on the channel in a few weeks' time. But for the 12 cast-ons, the final roll is done, and we got number 15. Number 15 is a lovely wintry house. So let's reveal, again, I can't see what's on the card. Let's reveal together what is number 15. Ah, mid-coast sweater. Okay, that's actually a really nice way to finish these 12 cast-ons for me. And I can't believe we didn't roll a single number twice, like every single prompt. Let me show you. Let me try and find. So here's a card that we had before, number 1. And I have been like scribbling off the original prompt and scrappily writing on something different for each number that we've rolled, and we haven't come across one of those at all, so I'm very surprised about that, but I guess it's as equally likely that we wouldn't do that as we would do that, so the fun of rolling the dice. Okay, mid-coast sweater, stop waffling, let's go grab my project. If you have been following the channel for I think 2 years now, this project may sound familiar to you because I cast on the mid-coast sweater, not the last 12 cast-ons, but the 12 cast-ons before. And I have some beautiful yarn in my stash that has been patiently waiting for this sweater. I'll pop a picture of the sweater up on the screen. It's a pattern by Jen Steingass, and I cast this on and I made reasonable progress on the first day that I cast it on previously. I might try and link the video somewhere so you can take a look if you want to. But then I decided that I wasn't happy with my colour placement. And basically what happened was I was following the sort of colour order as per the pattern. Obviously I've chosen different colours, but you assign your different colours, you know, like yarn A, B, C, or main colour and contrast colour, or however the pattern describes it. And I'd assigned orange, my orange Cartrev yarn. Cartrev yarn I'm using for this. I'm babbling all over the place, aren't I? I'm using some beautiful Cartrev yarn, if I didn't say that, which is a wonderful Welsh produced yarn. And I have been desperate to cast this sweater back on. Anyway, let's try and get this back on track and try and stay focused. I cast this on with my main colour being sort of the first colour of the sweater, but then as I was browsing Ravelry I saw someone else had used very similar colours to the ones that I'd picked out, but they had started with their dark grey colour, which is also one of my colours. I really loved how their version of the sweater looked. If I can remember, I'll pop a picture of that person's project up on the screen, and also I will of course give them credit. I'll give pop their Ravelry username up as well. I was kind of umming and ahhing. I sat on my project for quite some time. Should I just carry on the way that I'd done it? But the more I thought about it, the more I knew I would be happier if I started with this grey colour. So I decided to rip out my mid-coast and cast it on again at some point in the future. And of course, that hasn't happened, but now it will be happening, which I am so thrilled about. So I am going to be using a combination of this beautiful grey colour, which I'm not sure if I've got I think I do still have all of the bands. So this one I think is Glow, G-L-O. I've got the lovely orange, which is Flam, and then I also have a skein of the neutral, which is Natriol. So this is going to be my colour combination for the mid-coast, and I couldn't be happier. I get to cast it on again finally, and hopefully end up with a beautiful sweater in this gorgeous yarn. I can't wait. I'm really thrilled because this was you may have heard me mention before when we got the Scrap Bucket pattern that there were 3 patterns in here, or 3 prompts in here that I really wanted to get to, and so this is the second out of those 3 that come up. So there's still one more in my cards that we didn't get to, but never mind. So yeah, I don't need to wind any yarn up. Look, it's all wound ready to go from previous. I just need to find my needles and cast on. So yeah, I'm excited to get my errands done now. Errands done, work done, so that I can get this cast on, and we'll see how far we get today. It's 3:30. I've done all of the need to do work jobs for today. So I'm going to call it a day for work, which I know is a bit of a luxury, but it's the last day of the 12 cast-ons. So I'm going to do it. I do have my housework chore to do for the day, but I'm waiting for the vacuum cleaner to charge up. So I'm going to sit and cast on, and I think I'm going to put something on telly. Maybe I'll probably alternate between my cast on and getting in a few pages of my book. I'm still reading the Cat Who Saved books. Thank you to everyone who commented on the video the other day where I asked you about what you were reading. I've added quite a few new books to my want to read list. I've got one more part of the Cat Who Saved books to read, but I'm changing things up a bit, changing the pace up a bit with a thriller as well. Just the same as I don't always just work on one project. I can't just read one book. I know, it's something wrong with my brain, I know. I don't always read thrillers, and so yeah, it's quite nice to get into one. This one sounds very dramatic. 6 strangers, 1 killer, you might be next. Ooh. But so far it's fairly slow paced. It's quite a long book. It's about 400 pages, which a lot of thrillers I've read in the past have been more like sort of 300 page mark. So we're building up. It's basically about mountain climbers, and there's been a few accidents on the mountains which are a bit suspect. And yeah, you can feel the sort of tension is building. So yeah, I think I'll switch between this, a bit of telly and a bit of knitting to get me through the rest of the afternoon and the evening. So here we are, our final morning check-in for the 12 cast-ons. I can't quite believe we've made it all the way through. As I said the other day, in some ways it feels like it's only just started, and in other ways it feels like it's been going on forever for me this year. We have reached the end, although I think maybe this won't be the very last video in the 12 cast-on series this year. I may come back, maybe not tomorrow, perhaps in a couple of days. We'll see what I have time for. I thought it might be quite nice to do a little bit of a roundup to share with you some of the projects that I would have liked to have cast on, so some of the other things that were on my prompt cards that we didn't get to, and yeah, just generally do a little bit of a wrap up. So if you are still casting on and you want to leave details of your cast-ons below, then when I do that wrap-up video I will do a little shout-out segment as well. I'm also thinking about doing a little bit of an impromptu giveaway in that next video, and you don't need to do anything particular to enter that giveaway. I think I will pull out a skein of yarn from the prize pot that I have, and I'll just do a random generator to pick a comment from one of the 12 cast on videos. So all you've needed to have done is comment under one or all of the videos for a chance to perhaps grab yourself a fun skein of yarn. Just my way of saying thank you to everyone for your participation, whether you've cast on or whether you've just been cheering us on from the sidelines. So I think I shall do that in the next video too. But we still have plenty of fun things to chat about in this video before we get to the next one. I'm wrapped up in all of the wool again because it is freezing here in South Wales today. It's not quite as blue sky, there's quite a lot of cloud out today, but it's really cold up in this attic room. We do have heating up here, but it's not, they're sort of separate electric radiators. They're not attached to our central heating throughout the rest of the house, so they only get turned on if I actually bother to put them on, and I never do. So I've got my Varia mitts, I've got my shawl, I've got my sweater, yeah, all of the woolly things to keep me warm. Anyway, let's chat about all of the things that you're making, all of the woolly things that you're making to keep yourselves and your loved ones warm. And again, I've got almost a double page of chat to get through because you are still casting on with abandon, and I love it. So Julia says that she has been casting on some socks from some leftovers from a vest that she previously knit, which is always fabulous to use up leftovers, isn't it, as we've been saying in a lot of these videos. I love all of the leftover projects that you've been coming up with. She's also cast on a poncho and said that she's about to cast on a hat too, so that'll be 3 cast-ons. And Julia said that she used to live in Barcelona and misses the sea, so she really enjoyed the trip to the beach the other day. So you're most welcome. If you come back for further visits, Julia, I often put in visits to the beach in my videos, so anytime you need a little bit of sea, come back and check out some of the videos here. Susan has cast on some leg warmers, and these are Susan's cast on number 7, and she said she's using some self-striping yarn and she's trying the entrelac technique for the first time, so good luck with that. It's always fun to learn something new. Sarah is starting a new spin of some Polworth and nylon from Stripy Cat yarns, which sounds amazing. Polworth is one of my favourite fibres to spin. Tracy has cast on her number 7 project, which is a log hat, and she said it's a sort of log cabin style and it's great for using up worsted leftovers. She also has plans for the rest of her 12 cast-ons, and so she's hoping to get onto the needles a Bessie sweater, which she said is a Rowan pattern knit in pieces, and she's thinking about changing it up to knit it in the round, including steeks, and she wondered what I thought about that. And I've knit quite a few Rowan patterns in pieces, and also I've knit quite a few of the test knits that I've done for Sylvia, What's Cherry, who I was chatting about the other day, are also been knit in pieces and seamed up, and actually I really enjoy that technique. I know a lot of people prefer the sort of knit in the round altogether because you're mostly then knitting if it's a stockingette based sweater, but I love the structure that you get from a bit of seaming. That's just a personal preference, and I don't mind purling, so I say do whatever makes you happy. If you're someone who prefers just to knit in the round, and changing up that sweater to make it in one piece is going to enable you to do that, then go for it. But if you don't mind a bit of purling or a little bit of modular knitting and a bit of seaming, then do it. I think also the benefit for me of sweaters knit in pieces is that if you do want some out and about knitting, you're not lugging the whole thing with you. You're only ever knitting on one piece, so that sort of modular knit makes it a little bit more portable to my mind. But as I say, you do whatever makes you happy, I say. Tracy is also thinking about casting on a Morning Star cowl. She's got a kit for that from Farmer's Daughter's Fibre, a festive yoke and a sweater hug, which are both Skein Deer Patterns and an Opalite by Skaynanigans. So it sounds like Tracy's got some lovely projects waiting to be cast on in the wings. Lisa has started a baby cardigan using a pattern from Serdar, and she's going to be donating that to raise money for the Valindra Cancer Centre. So another wonderful charity knits going on there from Lisa. Gemma said she's finally cast on her Ursa, which is her cast on number 6. She had a few issues with the cast on and the first row because she wasn't concentrating on the pattern. We all do that. You saw me doing that with my little colourwork mitts the other day. She said to cast on 6 projects, and the Ursa was number 6, was her goal, but she now has the inkling to cast on a few more. So I say go for it, Gemma, as long as you're comfortable. Obviously don't overwhelm yourself is what I say to everyone. You know, in the pursuit of getting carried away with these cast-ons, don't then leave yourself with a big pile of whips that you're kind of weighing on your mind. So as long as you're enjoying it, as long as you're still happy, then keep the cast-ons going. Deb, who's been doing all of the amazing charity knitting, has cast on her number 12 project, and she said this is the big project and this one is for her from her handspun, and she's cast on a Strathendric sweater. I have no idea if I've pronounced that right, and it just sounds amazing, Deb. I cannot wait to see that, hear more about it. Beverly has started a mitered square blanket. Amanda has started and finished some Granby mitts for her daughter, and those are super special mitts because they're from naturally dyed handspun from their little flock of Pole Dorset sheep. That is so special. And Amanda is also about to start, or has just cast on, a Sand Grains slipover, which is a colourwork sweater, or a colourwork garment I should say. And Amanda said she's already second guessing what she's done because it's been a while since she cast on a larger project, so she's not sure what she's let herself in for, but you can do it, Amanda. We believe in you. We're here cheering you on. Tess has started 7 projects and she's hoping for a few more to go on the needles before the end of January. So Tess has started painting column socks, a Fanta stitch. She said she then paused on her cast-ons and had a look through her whips and found 35 works in progress. I hear you. I think, well, I know I don't have that many knitting works in progress, but if I count up my spinning, my embroidery, my weaving, I've probably got somewhere, and my quilting, I've probably got somewhere in the region of that. So yeah, I feel you. But she then said she put those out of her mind and decided to cast on some more things. Why not? Why not? So she's also cast on some double knit socks, some scrappy double knit socks, and she's holding some fingering yarns double, including like teeny tiny little bits that wouldn't have found a use otherwise, so we love that. She's cast on some Marilla mittens, a painting big honeycomb shawl, a Musselburgh hat and a dishcloth. So well done, Tess, for getting all of those fabulous new projects on the needles. And Jane said she knew she wouldn't be able to stop at just 1 or 2 cast-ons once she started, even though she wasn't planning on joining in. But Jane said she's cast on some baby hats, which will be donated to a local maternity hospital. So what a lovely project for you to start, Jane. And then before I move on to chatting about what I got up to yesterday, a couple of other comments just to shout out. Ellie said that she's going to be getting some cast-on withdrawals. So she's fairly new to the channel and said she might go back and watch some of the playlists from previous years just to get a little bit of cast-on company and a cast-on fix over the next few days. So that made me chuckle. And Beverly, this is a comment about some colourwork and tension issues. So Beverly's working on some Varia mitts, and she said she's trying to get used to knitting with one colour in one hand and one colour in the other hand, and she said her tension is a little bit variable, and she was asking, did it take me long to get used to knitting with a strand in each hand? And I would say it did. My first colour project is nothing to write home about. If I've still got that somewhere, I might chat about it on a future episode. I knit a hat. The tension was all over the place. Tones in my colour were too close, so you can't really see the colour work properly. It was a little bit of a disaster, but I definitely did get into the flow of it after that project. You know, that first project, trying to knit in that way taught me a lot. However, I've got a couple of things that I would say to you, Beverly, that might help you. So first off, one thing that helps me is sometimes if I'm knitting colour work and I feel like my tension is getting a little bit tight, I spread my stitches over the needles a little bit just to make that float at the back a little bit bigger. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself well. Maybe I should grab a project and try and actually and try and show you. Okay, yes, I will do that, and I will try and angle my camera so you can see what I'm doing with my hands. Bear with. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see this okay. I don't really have one of those fancy tripods where you can get the overhead shot, so I'm just doing my best with what I've got. I've just moved past my beginning of round marker there just to get that out of the way, and I'm not following any kind of pattern at the moment. I'm just trying to demonstrate. So I've knit a few stitches, and as you can see I've got quite a long way to bring my purple yarn. So in order not to get it bunched up, I spread these stitches out over my needle quite a lot, and I make sure that these stitches here aren't right at the tip of my needle, and then I do my thing where I pick up that stitch, and that just makes that float really stretch across the back because it's got a much longer way to travel than if I had all of my stitches bunched up together and on the end of the needle. So every now and then, if I feel like my floats are getting tight, I will try and employ that technique. Just spread things out a little bit and give yourself a nice sort of bit of space on the back of your work to travel that float across. The other thing you could try and do, which I know some people who always knit their colour work like this, so when I'm knitting in the round, I have my right side facing me and my needles are at the very front of the work, but I know a lot of people actually will flip their colour work inside out and continue to knit their pattern, but their needles are now at the back of the work, and that naturally gives the yarn much more space to have to travel around. So if you're having problems with your tension, you could also try that method, because already without really doing anything, there's a little bit more space that your yarn has to travel to sort of work across. If you've got your needles facing this way, your yarn can easily sort of bunch up in here, but if they're facing this way, there's more distance for them to move around. So I don't know if that would have helped you, Beverly, but it only took me a minute to share, so I don't by any means proclaim to be any kind of expert. They're just things that have helped me in the past. Ultimately, you might find that some of your tension issues work out once you block your piece. However, the thing that's not going to block out is if you do have really tight floats. If there's nowhere for that yarn to move, no amount of soaking your yarn is going to make that bit of yarn that you've left across the back of your work any bigger. Also, it's the same as any technique, I guess. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So the more you do it, the more intuitive it's going to become, and you'll start to be able to gauge how much room you need to leave in your floats for a nice amount of stretch in your work without it bunching up. And yeah, there's no substitute for just practicing to get that sort of thing solidified in your mind. So yeah. Good luck. I'm sure your mitts will be amazing. I took mine off when I was doing that little demo because I knew that that grippy merino skewer yarn, that was one of my previous 12 cast-ons, would get attached to the blue faced Leicester in my gloves. But they're back on again because, as I said earlier, it's freezing. Okay, time to share with you the progress that I made yesterday, and I broke my sort of little cardinal rule for not knitting too much. And I knit a lot on my sweater yesterday. The Cartrev yarn is just so wonderful to work with. I have used it before. I've used a skein of double knit in one of my cardigans, and of course I did cast this project on before, and it's just a really lovely sort of non-superwash, locally produced yarn. And yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. I am keeping my project for the time being in this lovely project bag that was a gift from Kate. This is not big enough for all of my extra skeins. I've got one skein of each colour in there, and my spare orange skeins are just living elsewhere at the moment, but I've run out of larger project bags because I've got so many sweaters on the needles. I could have popped it in a tote bag, I guess, but it's perfectly happy in that project bag for now. And so yes, without further ado, my scrunched up mid-coast. So sorry, I've got stitch markers clanging around everywhere. I don't have any spare needle stoppers either at the moment, so I have to be a little bit careful because there's lots of stitches on these needles now. But hopefully you can see I have started several rows of the colour work at the top of this sweater. And I just could not stop knitting on this. I did not want to, so I didn't. I've got one more, there's quite a lot of rapid increase going on at the beginning of this sweater. I've got one more increase row to go, and then I've got the maximum amount of stitches that I'm going to have on this project. So I cannot wait to carry on with this. Like I said, it's just the beautiful yarn and pattern combination is just really making my heart sing, and yeah, just can't wait. Just can't wait. There's short row shaping at the back, so the back of the sweater is a lot deeper than the front, which is often the case in these yoked sweaters, just to push the back up a little bit and help it sit a little bit better when you're wearing it. It's really tricky to show you because it wants to roll up on itself, and as I say, I can't really spread the stitches out too far without losing them off the end of the needles. But even though it's not too much to show, that represents quite a lot of knitting. So yes, that's it for me. My 12 cast-ons adventure of this year has come to an end, which part of me is sad about, but another part of me is really excited because I've cast on some fabulous projects, some unexpected projects, thanks to some of the random dice rolls, and now I'm going to have the tricky job of trying to figure out what to do work on for the rest of the month. I'm going to, as I mentioned previously, come back in February for my next dice roll video to help me decide what to concentrate on for the full month of February. But for these next couple of weeks of January, I'm just going to pick whatever makes my heart happy, and hopefully I will have decided that by the time I come back in the next day or two for my little wrap-up video, so I will be able to chat to you a little bit more about my making plans for the rest of the month in that one. Thank you again, once again, so much for all of your participation, for all of the lovely comments, for watching, for liking the channel, for subscribing. To those of you who have helped to support the channel by either buying me a coffee, or we've had a couple of folks sign up to Patreon, I truly appreciate all of that help and support, and I wouldn't be able to spend as much time doing this and making the content that I do without that support. So you truly do make a huge difference to what I do here. Hopefully I will be back again in a couple of days with that wrap-up video, as I keep mentioning. Can you tell I don't want the journey to be over? I don't want to say goodbye, but I am going to say goodbye. So I hope you will join me for that next one. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.